All right. Welcome, my dear friends, crypto lovers, crypto traders all over the globe. Thanks for joining. This is your host, The Real Shaw 256. Thanks for joining another episode of Evening Crypto. And tonight, we want to talk about what's been going on in the charts. We did a short video yesterday on some of the coins, especially Ethereum, that was looking to make a move, and it actually played out. We did a video, if you guys want to check that out, last night, yesterday's video, in which we talked about what Ethereum might be actually pulling off today. And it did actually hit our target. So go back and watch it. I'll go and review this in a little bit once we get into the charts. But first of all, I do want to recap the state of the market, look at a couple things within that, and then also talk shortly about the price reaction in the oil markets. Some people getting rich in the oil market, as if that's been going on for a very long time. Oil has always been one of those commodities that people love to trade because of its volatility, and it could be said that it had reached really low levels of volatility in the market. And of course, this drone attack has come in to kind of reshape everything and shake everything out. So a little bit of that here coming up. But first of all, let's talk about the current state of the market. We're currently at $270 billion for the entire market cap, $60 billion worth of trading in the last 24 hours, and BTC dominance is down to 67.9 according to CoinMarketCap. Now, I do want to mention this. Some people are calling for the altcoin summer, getting a little wild and crazy, going out on a limb and calling this the altcoin season that everyone's been waiting for. And I'm here to tell you, if you're getting the same messages that I'm getting pretty much all over social media, please do not heed that call yet. It is way too soon to say something like that. I know crypto Twitter was going crazy earlier today, talking about how this is the sign that we've all been waiting for. Bitcoin dominance is only down 60 to 67 point something percent up here, 67.9. I mean, 68% basically. And so it is nowhere near what we would be looking for to call an official altcoin summer. Just as a keynote for maybe in the future, once we get to about 60% Bitcoin dominance, which we haven't seen since, what was the last time we just saw that? Roughly around December 4th, 2017. It's been a while, almost 2 years since we saw Bitcoin dominance down to 60%. If we get to that point, then at that point we reassess and we start looking at current state of the market, see what's going on. Remember, guys, this is a pendulum, right? This is sort of like a pendulum. That's the best way I can describe it. It swings back and forth. Sometimes the money actually most of the time the money will go into Bitcoin, and then when the pendulum swings back, money goes into the altcoins. But then it's a constant back and forth, right? It's always a fight and a struggle between the two, Bitcoin and the altcoin market. And remember, money fluctuates between one and the other. Is this orchestrated? You betcha. I mean, there's a lot of manipulation going on, and I mean that in the best way I can put it is the most innocent way, because everybody's manipulating, right? But you see a move happening in the market and everybody jumps in. Same scenario we had with oil just this week. The attacks happened. What happened right after that? Monday, oil markets open up and they're through the roof, right? That's the kind of reaction. But it happens because there was an event. This is traditional markets, commodity markets. There was an event that is directly correlated with the price of oil. Now you're cutting the supply. What does that usually do? Well, if you cut the supply, there's less of it to go around. The demand goes up, so the price naturally has to go up. And you see it reflected again in the price of oil ETFs, stock prices, oil-based stock prices. I mean, they're reacting positively to that. Was it a sort of coordinated move? you know, that's too hard to tell. I mean, that's getting into, you know, conspiracy theories. I don't like to do that in this channel. I mean, there are some people who are saying that, you know, this is all a coordinated event. People were ready to jump in on the market, knowing that this event was you know, was going to happen. So don't feed in too much into all of that. And also don't feed too much into the altcoin summer agenda, because it could actually end up biting you in the ass if you jump in too soon. Not to say that, you know, you can't trade it, because I mean, as we called it yesterday, last night, Ethereum did actually break out, and it did hit our target. Now on the other side of things, Bitcoin has just been staying stagnant, not really doing much. But again, this is the money outflowing out of Bitcoin and onto the um, altcoin, into the altcoin market. But then, you know, it's all going to come to an end at a point where, okay, we've exhausted, you know, we've exhausted that pump. Now it's time to put the money back into Bitcoin. So watch the swings, guys. Watch these swings. Pay close attention to that. You might want to take some gains at this point. If you entered into some trades up to this point, you might want to take some gains, because there is a pullback expected after this. And I'll get into a little bit more into that here shortly with the charts, right after we talk about the oil market. The biggest week in 50 years for oil. And real quick here, oil surges on Monday after this event, and WTI and Brent each closed up roughly 15% following drone attacks on Saudi Arabia. Whiting Petroleum, NYSE will, for instance, saw its share price surge by 54%. So definitely one of the biggest days in oil markets, again, in the last 50 years. So a lot of people making a ton of money based on this. So hopefully, if you guys were investing prior to this, then hopefully you guys, you know, are making some money off of that. But anyway, that's what's going on with commodities here as of this week. Let's actually jump into the nitty gritty, the cool stuff. And I do have a couple of things that I planned out that I did want to talk about in correlation with the whole narrative about altcoin season, altcoin summer, however you call it. You know, the last time we hit bottom, right around here, which was back in the middle of December 2018, we hit bottom, and then we saw a gradual sort of rounded bottom here in Bitcoin. Not so much for Litecoin, which could be said, you know, could be said legitimately. There is an argument that Litecoin was sort of the callus, that the catalytic event that actually propelled the price action in the entire market to actually have a nice bounce, a nice reaction off of this low here, and ultimately, you know, seeing this run up all the way up to about 14,000 in Bitcoin. And then we saw the ultimate high here with Litecoin at around, say, $136, $137, something like that. So Litecoin can be said to have led in that run and actually got us out of this you know, this low down here, the bottoming of the market back in, again, middle of December. And so we see this again, right? But this time we see this again. This time though, it's Ethereum that is actually causing all the havoc lately in the crypto space, in the crypto markets, by actually having a really strong, just, I mean, talk about a nice rally here off of this low down here, and actually having a positive reaction. Now Bitcoin has yet to follow in this run, so we'll have to wait and see. But again, the pendulum is swinging, guys. It is swinging in the favor of the alts, and it's going to swing back. Just wait for that move. If you guys, not financial advice, but you know, it might be a good idea to maybe take some profits here and wait for the pendulum to swing back in Bitcoin's favor. Not financial advice again, but you know, that's just sound advice, in my opinion. Life advice, we'll call it. All right, so in this case, we do see here again Ethereum having kind of leading the charge for the altcoins. We did see that. We identified it last night. Hopefully you were paying attention. Hopefully you were watching the video. And if not, you guys can go back and look at it. I'll get into it here in a little bit, like I said. But this is kind of sort of what's going on. Litecoin did it back in as of after middle of December. We saw Litecoin actually having the best reaction to that, and actually translating into Bitcoin and the rest of the market. And then we did see the huge move, the huge rally back here in April's Fools, actually 2019, a few months ago. We did see just a massive move from the entire market, Bitcoin and everything else, and just again ultimately coming to set new yearly highs, or yearly highs at that point. So this could be, this could be another run in the alts, but again, it's way too soon. It's just way too soon to be really calling for something like that. So if you're hearing that in other social media outlets, definitely take it with a grain of salt. And I would tell you not to jump in just yet, right? Again, not financial advice. But all right, let's get into Bitcoin here and look at the chart. We'll probably go pretty quick with Bitcoin here, just because it hasn't been too exciting still. It just hasn't been. It hasn't been doing much, right? Although the alts are actually, having a great day for a change here. We do see the price of Bitcoin, and actually let's switch over to the moving averages first. So I mean, it's on the daily here. It's looking, there's plenty of convergence here from a lot of these moving averages coming in here, and just just keeping the price steady, right? I mean, this is pretty much the average price being calculated by the EMAs here. They're all coming in convergence in this realm here, and they're all saying that they agree with the price at where we are at. Personally, I'd like to see Bitcoin stay above the 55 here, which is coming in right at 10,300. I mean, just below it, right? Just below the mark. But but personally, that's what I would like, just so that I can myself feel a little bit more bullish, more on the bullish side. However, it is, again, we're still within the macro trend, right? So we're still within this trend here that started back in, we'll just call it June, middle of June, somewhere in there. And this formation is actually coming to culmination, I believe, if we bring our trend lines here, we can see that. Let's get rid of some of these here. Yeah, there you go. So we can see that we're definitely coming into the apex here in a few days, maybe about a week or so. Also, we have the back launch of their physically settled futures contracts coming in right on the 23rd. So there's a lot of stuff brewing here from the beginning of June up until now. All of this is building pressure. Although again, we are agreeing on the price right now currently, so that there could be, as we said, more and further sideways trading for the time being until we get to a certain point here. This could be right. We're also having the Fed meeting. I believe that is tomorrow. I'll have to double check that, but I believe that is tomorrow, and they are deciding whether they are going to further drop the interest rates, or actually keep them the same, or maybe there might be a hike. There's very little possibility that they might raise the rates. Very little possibility that I think the second biggest probability is that they will keep them the same. But then, from what you've been hearing from Mr. Donald Trump, from the media, it does sound like another cut in interest rates is the more, I guess, the more probable of all the outcomes, right? So we might see that happening tomorrow. That's a big catalyst. That if the rates are cut once more, that will definitely play out in Bitcoin's favor. Okay. So, but again, it's not so well for the dollar, right? Because that means they're probably going to print more money, and it's never a good thing for the dollar or any fiat currency for that matter. All right, so we are agreeing on this price, and again, we're just waiting to be further, I guess, filled in this formation, and then wait for the breakout. Again, this sort of feels like, and then we might have to look at the weekly here. This sort of feels like we're on the right side of the price action here, based on what we saw here, right? We actually, that might have been the daily that would actually show us a little bit better here. So right there's back in November 14th, where we saw this big drop in price all the way that led us to the bottom here, there were plenty of EMAs and symbols coming in here, acting as downward pressure. We were actually coming from an upward trend, the culmination of this run, into a downtrend, right? A bearish market, if you want to call it that. And then we saw the convergence of these EMAs here acting as downward pressure on Bitcoin. And we actually did see that move actually play out to the bottom, right? And then we got above it, and we just, overtook pretty much every major and simple moving average to the upside with some conviction, with some volume, rallying all the way up to yearly highs. And then we again see the all the EMAs and simples converging again at current prices, but this time this is coming from an uptrend, not a I'm sorry, this is coming in from a downtrend, not the other way around like we saw it back here. This was an uptrend coming down and culminating here at this bottom. Right now we see the opposite effect. We see it actually coming up. And again, since a couple of months ago, I have been calling for a sort of a bull flag formation that was forming here. If you've been following the channel, you guys can go back a couple of months, maybe July, August timeframe. You guys can confirm what I'm saying, that this had the characteristics of a bull flag, and could quite potentially play to the upside, right? Break out onto the upside. I even gave you guys a target around 15,400. That was the target. Whether it'll hit that, we'll have to see. But ultimately, this move was actually calling for about a yearly high of about 15.4, 15.5, which I know is what all you bullish people want to hear. Now, that is the more bull case scenario. The bear case scenario would be, that if, say, the Fed decides to hike rates, and that's not going to bode well with the market, and we might see a huge drop. Also, if something were to go wrong with Backed, which I don't believe that anything like that should happen, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. If we do see Backed for some reason not launching on the 23rd, then that could also negatively impact the price of the market. So we'll see here. We'll see what happens. We'll have to wait. But if we do break down below this formation here, we did have this line of support here coming in at around 8,800. If we do break down from there, the 200 and this previous line of support is coming in there incongruent. So we should have an initial bounce off of there, but then we could come back and retest 7,800, right where the 377, and then the 10 simples coming in at 66. From that standpoint, there's going to be plenty of support on the way down, but again, don't count it out. That is certainly does not look like that is the likely scenario, but again, stranger things have happened. You also have to take that in consideration. But again, we at this channel have been saying for a while now that this is a bullish formation. Everything about it looks bullish. The pattern, the trend, everything about it again is bullish. But we have seen surprises in these markets all throughout. So I'm not tossing it, or I'm not taking a bear case scenario for granted at this point. I do think it could still play out if all of these things come in and in convergence and happen one after another. Fed's not cutting rates, also backed not launching, and just some series of events that could negatively affect the market, right? So but again, we remain bullish at this time. Let's look at the weekly real quick and see where we had our last close. I mean, just pretty much dead even here, right? I mean, there's again not a whole lot of volatility still within this trend. I wouldn't have, there's nothing really to say or talk about here until it breaks 9,700. If it were to break 9,700 on the weekly and actually close below it, then we could say that, all right, we're definitely heading down into the lower ranges here. Surprisingly enough, we never saw a retest of the 21 here on the weekly chart. We are trading right at the 30 simple here currently, but never actually coming back to retest the 21, which could be said to be another bullish sign, right? Another bullish sign that because of the fact that the 21 was never retested. All right, weekly on the RSI is looking. I mean, just it's definitely flat. It's sort of in the middle of the neutral zone, and certainly if we do see a move up, breaking out of this formation here, we should see the RSI also in confluence with that and point to the upside. Let's take a quick look at the monthly, because again, and for that we have to switch over to our Bitstamp chart here so that we can get a little bit more history with the monthly chart. And again, once we get above the 21, we usually stay above it. Now I do want to see a close at not lower than 10,000 if we are to remain above this 21. If we do come back and like as I would say on the weekly chart, if we do come back and close below 9,700 on the weekly, and then we have the end of the month here, right, about a couple weeks after that, then it's not going to look good for this formation here on the RSI. We could come back and and cross the 21 exponential on the RSI here to the downside. That would not be a good thing. Would not be a good thing. So definitely paying attention to that. It is a monthly chart, so we just have to take it slow and be patient with that one. Seeing a definite trend here on the monthly. See that again in confluence with that, but again, these typically are formations that break to the upside. So everything is in confluence there for a breakout. But again, we'll have to wait till possibly next week, and possibly after that. But again, these markets are wild. Anytime we try to do a prediction, or anybody is trying to predict anything within these markets, I mean, we end up getting, we end up looking like fools for trying to predict the market, right? And that same goes for anybody who's trying to do that and trying to say that they might have a crystal ball or anything or something like that. But all right, so let's actually get into the lower time frames. The 4-hour bouncing nicely back off of this last 4-hour here, where we saw the low at, what is this, 10,168, actually recovering nicely, but is being rejected by the 55 currently. And that's what I was telling you guys about earlier, that if we were to pop above the 55 here, then definitely would feel a little bit more confident with Bitcoin, and possibly add to my position there, but it's not looking like it wants to do that, so we might have to wait a little bit longer. The RSI is right at the 21 as well, and with some indecision, it looks like it wants to flatten out here, so not really time for any moves, not really time for that. If you were on alts, if you were trading alts earlier from yesterday or maybe last week, I did give you some tips over the weekend for some possible breakouts. We didn't get them all. I didn't think XRP would actually be one of those coins that would run, but actually XRP having a really nice move today. And in fact, let's just start with start looking at altcoins here. So yeah, definitely having a huge breakout. What is the move here? Let's actually measure it from this point here to give a little bit more fuel to the XRP army. So about almost 21% move here from this point here on September 14th, over the weekend actually. So yeah, I gave you guys some pointers on some possible breakouts. We didn't get XRP obviously, but we did actually call a few the right way, like Litecoin, Ethereum, ADA, I believe Link as well. Although I did think that Link was sort of forming a sort of a bear flag here, and I asked you guys to be careful if you are going to trade it. And then look at it. I mean, we did have sort of a run here, not much going on there. Let's actually put a measurement move from this point to the resistance here, about 7% from top of the range to from bottom of the range to top of the range. And then we do see slight retracement and coming back and retesting this area here. But it is sort of, from what we can see, this could be, a bear flag for me here. So just be careful, right? And the fact that we're not getting above the line of resistance here is not really, it's not really instilling confidence in me personally. I would have definitely liked to see a Link getting above this trend line of resistance there. Like we did see some of the other alts, like BNB currently right now is actually trying to make a decision whether it's going to jump above and stay above it and continue its run, or stay right there, maybe come back and retest the bottom of the range here. Let's look at Litecoin. Litecoin is doing the same thing as Link. Did come back and retest the top side of this resistance, and look at this wick here, but then actually rejected from it and coming back into this formation, and we have not been able to get above it. So definitely could see again a retracement, which I do think is coming in general for all of these altcoins that had a nice run over the last couple of days. I do see a retracement coming, so just be mindful of that. Take some profits before you lose out on that opportunity. And then we do see here Ethereum. We gave you this target last night at 216, and look, I mean, it doesn't get any closer than that, right? It almost, you could say that it hit the target right on point. So definitely take some profits here, because this could be, I mean, look at the drop in volume here and buying volume here. A huge drop. We could be seeing this coming into an end. So and also the RSI did have a cross to the downside, retesting the neutral zone here, and the 21 will be coming in right above there. So let's watch the volume and see what happens with Ethereum, because again, it could have continuation. I mean, right now it seems like a rejection off of this area of previous resistance. Could come back and retest. What is this, 203, 204? Retest this before actually continuing the run. So that's what I'm looking at for the immediate time frame. All right, so that's Ethereum. Look at ADA had a nice day as well today, pretty nice day. And again, look, I mean, we're seeing sort of the same things here with some of these altcoins. Look at the buying volume just dropping off significantly. Still above the exponential here on the volume, still above the 21 EMA here on the RSI, and still within the bullish control zone. Although watch this cross to the downside, right? It could have continuation to the downside and have that correction that we were talking about. All right, so yeah, so all right, so the one thing to take away from this is definitely take some profits. Let's look at a couple more while we exit. Hot is also having a decent reaction to the movement in the market. VAT as well did break out of this area here, previous resistance, and continuing the run. If we start closing some 4-hour candles above the 200 here, that could be significant for VAT, for VeChain. So pay close attention to that. It does look like we are going to close our first 4-hour above it. And I want to see an open and a close. If this is a key area for VeChain, right? It is the 200 EMA here, which we haven't been able to break above. Gosh, guys, since, oh my goodness, man, we have not seen prices above the 200 EMA here since July 4th, 2019. Seems like it wasn't that long ago, right? So if we do get above it, that could, if we start opening and closing so 4 hours above it, that could mean significant things for VeChain, and we could come back and retest this area here at what is it, 0.004967. This will be a nice area of resistance here. The 377 and the 10 symbol coming in here in confluence at 0.004782 before we actually can say that it will come in and retest 0.004962. All right. Okay. So hopefully I left you guys with some things to think about over the next couple of days. Again, watch the pendulum because it is swinging. Money is floating obviously into alts right now, but let's see how it holds up. This is way too early to call an altcoin season just yet. So hang on to your pants and let's just see what happens. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining Evening Crypto. Your boy, the Real Shaw256. Follow me on Twitter, the Real Shaw256, and also on Instagram. For whenever I'm not recording these videos, I'm actually posting content on those social media platforms. So definitely give me a follow there and let me know that you're following. Hopefully you got something in return for your time, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great one.